A lot of people consider isekai anime to be absolutely garbage, but the Aristocrat's otherworldly adventure, serving gods who go too far, is actually different from the hordes of overpowered protagonists shows we keep getting every season despite the fact that absolutely nobody likes them. It actually has entertaining characters, with the main character, Cain, actually caring about the billion or so wives he's engaged to, and I think you're all going to love this one. Kazuya goes to the store and sees a guy threatening some girls with a knife, so he jumps in to protect them but gets stabbed and dies. He wakes up in a baby's body and realizes he's been reborn in a different world. His mom, Sarah, takes care of him, thinking he's hungry, and a maid named Sylvia brings him soup. Sarah and Sylvia leave him to rest, and Kazuya, now called Cain, figures out he's in a world of swords and magic. Later, Sylvia feeds him soup and tries to put him to bed, while Cain learns he's the son of a noble named Garm, who protects the kingdom, and gets excited about the idea of becoming an adventurer using magic and swords to fight monsters. He wants to learn magic, but Sylvia says he needs to learn how to write first. As Cain learns, his family is amazed by how fast he picks things up and believe he's a genius, as Cain secretly practices magic and studies hard. Of course he does. He's a fantasy protagonist. His family doesn't think he's ready for magic yet and tell him he's too young, but Cain realizes he can use magic but struggles to control it, deciding to keep it a secret. 2 years later, Cain's baptism day arrives, and during the ceremony, he's transported to meet the gods, who bless him with powers and send him back. Cain tries to hide his powers, but accidentally summons a demon, showing everyone how strong he is. Later, Garm publicly asks him what he wants to become since he can't take over the family, so Cain happily says he wants to go to many places, know many things, and help people in need, which is why he wants to become an adventurer so that he can protect everyone's smiles. Garm tells Cain that he needs more education to reach his goals and arranges for tutors to help him. Later, the tutors Millie and Nina arrive and introduce themselves nervously, so Cain reassures them that they don't need to be formal. Garm explains that he wants them to tutor Cain for 3 years, starting immediately. At the training grounds, Cain impresses Millie with his skills, so Nina suggests that he may even surpass her, so they have a mock fight. Cain reveals that he has received a blessing from the god of war, which impresses his tutors. Millie suggests that he should study magic under Nina's guidance, and Nina, who has a level 3 blessing from the god of magic, plans to start with the basics. Cain shows off his basic magic, surprising Nina, and admits to having received the blessing from the god of magic, which shocks them. They agree to train him outside the mansion due to his incredible powers and ask for Garm's approval. Leaving the mansion, Nina teaches Cain intermediate magic, causing a massive explosion as they discover his immense magical powers. A killer rabbit suddenly attacks them, but Cain effortlessly defeats it, storing its remains. They run into more monsters, and Cain says he wants to learn Nina's search spell as his power continues increasing and reaches level 8 in a short time. And at the guild hall, they run into a bully adventurer, leading to a duel which Cain easily wins. His tutors are stunned at his martial skills, and they continue training in the forest. As their contract is about to end, Cain wants to thank them and decides to fulfill Millie's wish for a magic bag. He defeats powerful monsters in the forest, attracting attention from the city guard, while Garm and his soldiers find a crater. Cain gives his tutors the magic bags he crafted, but they realize that it's above national treasure class before kissing Cain on both cheeks. He's too lucky, and bidding him farewell. 2 years later, Cain, now 10 years old, travels to the royal capital for his debut, a noble tradition taking about a week, except for any monster encounters. Using his search ability, he detects an oncoming monster threat 3 kilometers ahead, but despite his father's urge to be quick, Cain realizes they won't reach in time and leaps from the carriage before rushing forward with a spell. Meanwhile, a horde of monsters attack the people, and a soldier desperately tries to defend the royal carriage before Cain intervenes and swiftly defeats the monsters before killing the general with his fire sword. He introduces himself as Garm's son, helping the injured soldiers with healing spells, and Garm arrives too late, realizing the battle has ended. Inside the royal carriage, Cain meets Princess Telestia and Miss Silk, the Duke's daughter, before he soothes their stress with a calming spell. Grateful for his heroism, The girls invite him to join their debut journey to the royal capital. During the trip, Cain finds himself uncomfortably sitting between the two girls. Despite Garm being initially reluctant, the girls ask Cain to stay with them for safety, which Cain hesitantly agrees to only if the room is big enough. However, the girls ask him to sleep close to them out of fear. This man has too much riddance, he needs to be stopped, leaving him sleep-deprived. Upon arriving at the royal capital, Vice Captain Dime praises Cain's bravery and Cain honors the fallen guards. Dime arranges a meeting with the king, where Cain is praised for his bravery and the king gives him the title of Baron and offers him a mansion, despite objections from noble Corzino. In a private moment with his father and the king, Cain is told to marry both Princess Celestia and Miss Silk to keep him in the kingdom, which he hurriedly agrees to after being pressured by them so much, which the girls happily react to. Cain goes to the capital's church to receive divine guidance, so a god acknowledges his exceptional abilities and gives him an opportunity to become a demigod. However, Zenom warns Cain against overreaching, advising him to use his knowledge from his previous life to his advantage. Returning to the human realm, Cain runs into Parma at Timone's shop and suggests a revolutionary item to Timones, who agrees to begin its production, so Cain gives him the necessary funding and says they should create a luxury version specifically for nobles. After creating a prototype, Cain tests it with Parma, exciting Timones, who vows to be dedicated to the project. They make an oath at the altar, making sure the item stays secret for 3 years. Cain decides to launch the product soon and show it to the royal family and gets ready for his debut alongside his parents upon getting home. Garm tells him about the potential problems of matchmaking attempts by other parents. At the event, Cain introduces his creation to the royal family, catching the interest of the king. While his parents are talking with others, Cain meets up with Silk, who playfully teases him before they're interrupted by Habit, who expects Cain's respect before they start fighting, and Habit's lackeys try to intimidate him using magic before Silk intervenes, revealing Cain's noble status, causing Habit and his friends to leave. Seeing Cain's calculated answer, Silk tells him to go on a date with her in exchange for keeping his secrets from the others. Testelia arrives and Silk tells her she has a date with Cain, to which Celestia also jealously asks for a date, and Cain agrees to take her some other time before the king summons him for a private discussion. Cain and the king play a game he created, and he tells him that he's going to release it to the public. The Duke reminds Chimin about his daughter's secret engagement and asks him to be cautious during his date. The next day, Cain receives the deed to his new mansion but finds it in poor condition, so he uses his magic to fix it up quickly. Sylvia, his maid, and Colin, his butler, welcome him, and Sylvia is eager to start cleaning, but Cain tells her that he already cleaned everything with his magic, so Colin reminds him to go back to his family, who are waiting for him. His brothers admire his new status as a baron and the mansion's grandeur and go with him to his mansion, initially worried about its rumored haunted status. However, they find it in perfect condition, and Cain's father notices how there isn't any art and suggests adding some. During the visit, Cain's family runs into an unexpected toilet with unique features, so Cain reveals his magical enhancement, amusing his family. Impressed, his father approves and requests one for the family home. He learns of how he has to host a debut party for high-ranking nobles as Colin helps him prepare the guest list, including Corzino. Sylvia helps him select gifts, and Cain magically crafts glassware before preparing Hamburg steak and sparkling wine. Later at the party, all the guests are completely interested by the steak, wine, and Cain's special toilet, but Corzino arrives and starts bad-mouthing everything, so Cain presents him in front of the king, who says he should be a good example for the other nobles, seeing which Silk teasingly asks Cain if he set Corzino up on purpose, which he agrees to. They're too damn cute. Cain visits the barracks and meets Vice Captain Dime since he has to store his monster materials there, but remarks that the space is too small since he needs to store an earth dragon. Shocked, Dime wonders if Cain is a hero or a student of the gods, but Cain remarks that he's just an ordinary boy, so Dime asks for his help in training the knights and introduces him to the knights as the hero who saved the princess from orcs. As they start having mock battles, one knight feels uneasy fighting a child, but Cain quickly won, seeing which Dime decides to challenge him against multiple knights. Their mock battle stops when Captain Tefana arrives, surprised to see the knights battling a child. Learning of Cain's heroic acts, she challenges him to a duel. Despite his wooden sword, Cain matches her skill and their fight ends with Cain winning. Tefana, overwhelmed, proposes to Cain, "Are you kidding me right now?" Shocking everyone in Cain, aware of the fact that he's already engaged, hesitates, but she tells him age and engagements don't matter for elves. Cain, looking for Dime's help, is dragged into a meeting with the king where Tefana admits she wants to marry him, but the king advises against it due to his other engagements and asks her to write a letter upon learning of her royal lineage. As Tefana drafts her letter, Cain is asked about his incredible strength and identity. The king reveals a book containing emperor-level magic, written in Japanese, which shocks Cain, who admits he was reincarnated before Tefana returns with a marriage certificate from her father, meaning she's now married to Cain. This guy's too lucky. Seeing which the king decides to not worry about him. Telestia and Silk inquire of Cain regarding his engagement to Tefana, but ultimately accept the news and advise him against making further proposals. However, before they can fully react, Tefana interrupts, expressing her desire to share their love, leaving the girl stunned. Cain revisits the ancient tome of the first king, uncovering a message from a past monarch, Yuya Esfort, who, like Cain, was reincarnated. Believing he's engrossed in his studies, Telestia and Silk suggest studying together, but Cain declines, citing his busy schedule. On his 12th birthday, Cain eagerly enrolls as an adventurer, seeking entry into the guild. Claude, a seasoned adventurer, recognizes Cain's potential and recommends he join a party for more lucrative quests. Later, Cain is accused of impropriety after dispatching 30 green lizards, but the guild master, upon learning of Cain's noble heritage and valor, promotes him to a rank. Grateful for the recognition, Cain reassures the guild master of his commitment to Tefana. Meanwhile, the deities observe Cain, realizing he must strengthen himself to confront an impending threat named Aaron. They discuss the necessity of Cain receiving tutelage from a particular teacher. Exciting developments, aren't they? Back at the palace, Telestia and Silk ask Cain if they can study together again, but their chat is cut short by Tefana, who excitedly talks about their recent forest trip and says they should go to the beach next. Hearing which, Telestia and Silk remark that they want to go on trips too, so Cain apologizes to them. In the morning, he heads to his academy entrance exams and breezes through the written test, with the knowledge from his previous life, before realizes he's taken the exam with commoners instead of nobles, worrying him. During the magic assessment, Cain watches as his classmates' spells fail and decides to go for a basic spell before accidentally triggering a huge explosion, shocking the examiner. In the swordsmanship exam, Cain faces Claude, the top-ranked adventurer, and they have a fierce duel, impressing Claude and the others. After the exams, Cain returns home and explains everything to the king, who is stunned by Cain's mastery of high-level magic. As the academy releases the results, Cain finds out he's ranked first and gets ready for the entrance ceremony, where he charms his classmates and delivers a speech about making friendships. When classes start, Cain chooses courses in nobility, adventuring, and magic, while Telestia and Silk pick their own paths. Seeing bullies harassing a student, Cain steps in and declares that there should be equality between nobles and commoners. After this, he receives a message telling him to visit the library, and upon entering, he finds himself in a strange space, facing a man who asks if he has any sugar in his coffee and addresses him as Kazuya Shina. Isn't that a huge plot twist? The man reveals himself as Yuya, whom Cain recognizes as the first king. Despite being thought of as a ghost due to the time gap, Yuya explains that he's maintained his presence as a god in the world he created and tells him about a conversation with the other gods, telling Cain to strengthen himself. Cain's surprised when he checks his stats and finds the God of Creation title given to him. Yuya tells Cain that he needs to face Aaron, the evil god behind past global chaos, and explains that his resurrection is about to wreak havoc in the world again. He reveals Aaron's manipulative tactics and the desperate battle that sealed him away, disclosing how important Cain's training is. Motivated by the link between Aaron and his past life, Cain decides to train under Yuya's guidance and goes through intense combat sessions. Nothing better than a training mark for the already overpowered MC. After an entire year of training, Cain learns of Aaron's past crimes and his personal connection to them. Upon completing his training, he visits his parents' graves and thanks Yuya for safeguarding them. As he gets ready to return to the Otherworld, Yuya gives him a final gift, a sword for the king, and bids him farewell. Telestia, Silk, and Sylvia welcome Cain home, having spent their time learning to bake cookies for his return. Overwhelmed, he meets up with them and tearfully starts gobbling down the cookies. Cain meets with the king and tells him about his encounter with Yuya in the Otherworld before showing the sword Yuya gave him, convincing the king of his story's truth. The king reads a letter from Yuya, learning about Cain's training under him, which involved facing monsters and daily beatings for 5 years, and is stunned by the tough training, while the Duke finds it amusing. It's revealed that the guild had been searching for Cain during his absence, and the fact that he hadn't taken any quests since achieving A rank made it so his registration was about to be cancelled. Hearing this, Cain hurriedly rushes to the guild where he's informed of a subjugation quest he has to take on due to his rank. Cain swiftly accepts despite his academy responsibilities, so the guildmaster tells him about the bandits causing trouble on a road and asks Cain to eliminate them. He teleports to the road and spots the bandits attacking the carriage before intervening and discovering his past mentors Nina and Melly escorting the carriage. He sees that Melly is injured and quickly heals her as the bandits start mocking him, but he effortlessly defeats them. Melly and Nina are shocked to learn that Cain's become an A-rank adventurer, after which return to town, delivering Parma's father safely. Cain's promotion surprises Melly, who remarks that she sees him differently now, seeing which Cain, feeling overwhelmed, excuses himself and goes to report to the guild, but Taya stops him and informs Cain of an academy instructor's injury. At the academy, Cain's magical powers are restricted due to past accidents, so his friends devise a plan to help him. In adventuring class, Claude and others help as well, impressing the students as Cain eagerly waits for his turn but disappointed when time runs out. Later, Cain frustratingly runs into a dragon and returns home after a short battle, unknowingly leaving behind proof of his rampage. The king informs Cain about the incident that occurred, so he nervously admits it was actually him as a fragment of the seal holding Aaron gets loosened. The dragon loses to Aaron's influence as the weakening seal strengthens him, and he vows to get revenge on the other gods. Meanwhile, Cain's class at the academy is studying summoning magic, so the teacher invites him to participate since no attack spells are involved. Cain excitedly joins in as Grat, a mage from the palace, explains summoning techniques to them and shows them magic circle summoning before handing out talismans. The students try to summon creatures, and one accidentally summons a beast too powerful to control. Grat chooses Cain next, and despite being worried about summoning a dangerous creature, Cain channels his magic before a surge of power summons a demon, Seth, the Prince of Darkness. Cain uses his magic to blind the others, so Seth approaches Cain, intrigued by his power. Expecting a battle, Cain is surprised when Seth offers his service, introduces himself, and vanishes. Unaware of the demon's presence, Grat accepts Cain's explanation. However, Cain tells the king about what happened, hearing which he remarks that it must be due to Cain's training from the first king. Discovering his new demigod status, worried about his potential, the king promotes him to Viscount and announces his engagement to the princess. Returning home, Cain learns of increased monster attacks from his brother and decides to investigate despite the guild's warnings. With his friend Haku and Jin by his side, Cain heads into the forest and summons Seth, who detects a powerful presence before they encounter Dalmatia, Seth's servant, who decides to help in their investigation. Back at the guild, Cain's friends are alarmed by the appearance of S-ranked monsters, so Claude and Lena join them, discovering the forest's evil signs, and Dalmatia warns of the upcoming danger as Aaron. Seth summons his underlings to attack and warns Cain, who sets up defenses and heads into the forest with him. Tefana informs Cain of an urgent order from his father and stays with him to protect the town as he starts battling an army of monsters led by Aaron, who mockingly declares that the game has already begun. Oh damn, You know things are going down when the edgy villain makes an edgy joke. As they're fighting, Seth tells Cain to go ahead while he stays to handle the creatures, so he rushes forward as the others, including Nina and Millie, join the battle in the forest. Seth's demonic generals help the humans against the monsters as Cain starts battling Aaron, recognizing him as a danger to his loved ones. He unleashes powerful magic and ultimately manages to defeat him with Seth's help. The town is secure, but Cain's actions draw the king's attention, who tells him off for using excessive magic and gives him the task of governing Duranthal, revealing the difficulties it currently faces, but Cain remains hopeful of rest. A guard alarmingly tells the king about how Cain went on a rampage in the town and defeated an army of adventurers, leading to him getting arrested. A while later, Seth asks for Cain's help with his marital issues, so he advises him against unfaithfulness, which Telestia and Silk agrees to. Later, Cain shows Tefana, Telestia, and Silk the gigantic castle he constructed for them, seeing which they're all shocked, and Tefana tells Cain that he went too far, and all three question why this was necessary.